It's Green Week on NBC Universal, but here on Mad Money, we don't use the same definition of green as everybody else. Most people think green companies are the ones that make windmills, solar panels, electric car batteries. But while that stuff might be economically viable in a decade, maybe two, it's not viable right now. Most things that we think of as helping the environment require huge government subsidies. But at the moment, governments all over the world are tightening their belts. And this show is not about pie-in-the-sky idealism. It's about helping you make the other kind of green, the beautiful color of money. That's why on Mad Money, we embrace the idea of businesses that make us not green, but greener. So what's greener? How about natural gas, fossil fuel, 50% cleaner than coal, 30% cleaner than oil? Natural gas may not be perfect, but embracing it would be a major improvement over where we are now. And no company understands this better than Chesapeake Energy, CHK, the second largest producer of natural gas in the United States, and, by the way, the most active driller of new wells, which is how the company aims to go from being in the top 15 producer of oil and nat gas liquids to a top 5 producer by 2015. Chesapeake's the king in the unconventional drilling shales, the place where we found so much oil and gas in recent years in this country. Companies move to produce more oil and liquids. That's a really important part of the story because they fetch higher prices than gas, as we know from West Texas Intermediate, over 100 today. But the company still very much believes in the potential of nat gas, too, which is why over the summer, Chesapeake announced that it's investing $1 billion to develop the technology and the infrastructure needed to replace gasoline and diesel with natural gas. That's surface fuel, right? Surface vehicles. Lately, the stock's been knocked down over funding concerns. But Chesapeake has so much fantastic acreage, I don't know, I find it hard to worry about. I really do. And that's why I'm thrilled to have Aubrey McLennan, Chairman and CEO of Chesapeake Energy, here with us tonight to give us a sense of what's happening at the company. Mr. McLennan, welcome back to Mad Money.
Hey, Jim.
Good to see you.
Wonderful to be here.
Good to see you in person.
Good to see you.
There's a lot of buzz around the stock saying, well, wait a second, Jim, you like the stock so much. It's at 25 bucks. You're talking about a $78 value, even with nat gas right here. Can you explain to people, walk people through about why that may be an improper valuations versus the net asset value, considering especially that you're making such progress going toward oil?
Sure. I think all the concern is about 2012 funding. We are on purpose spending more money than our cash flow in 2012.
And the analysts hate that.
What's the reason for it, though? We're trying to move from a 90% natural gas producer, which we spent 20 years building ourselves as a natural gas producer, and now we need to find more balance because oil is worth 4 or 5 times more than a unit of gas. So we could have stayed the course and said we're going to live or die with natural gas, or we could have made a transition as we're doing, take the technology we use to find gas, use it to find more highly valued oil. But you got to spend money to make money, and in 2012, that's what we're doing. Now, we're doing that without selling stock or going out and borrowing any money. We're just doing it by selling parts of our assets.
Now, there's concern also that natural gas, 52-week low today, $3.34, that as natural gas goes down, you're going to be even more crimped on this plan.
That's the concern, but it's not one that we're particularly worried about. We did lift some of our hedges not too long ago when the Greek crisis hit, and we thought it was a good time to do it. We think we'll get a chance this winter to put some back on. We're hedging a little oil at today's prices, and increasingly the Chesapeake story is going to be more about oil. So I think gas is bottoming in here. You've had incredible negativism about natural gas. We've had the 7th warmest November on record, and I think when we move into a little bit of winter, people are going to realize that 334 for natural gas is simply too low. And we've seen the worst, I think, of people's thoughts about natural gas.
Okay, before we get into what could go right in natural gas, unbelievably good presentation, the one that I find very winning, November 2001, you can get it, 2011 investor presentation on it. Page 32 has a chart. Don't forget about these big assets. Talks about a market value that is worth $23 a share for assets that are very, that are easy to value. Chesapeake Midstream Partners, Midstream Development, oil. How does this happen?
It's not clear because, the midstream, you have a public valuation for it. We can show you the math on our service company, which we think is worth $5 to $7 billion. We've got book value and all these other assets. But clearly today, people are saying in a world where you're not sure what's going to happen, we're worried about these guys being able to go out and sell parts of their assets and JVs and be able to fund what they want to accomplish in 2012. The reason that's misplaced is, yes, the financial side of the world is scary and a mess.
Right.
But we have what other companies around the world clearly have shown time after time. They want what we have, which are the best oil and gas assets onshore in the U.S.
Okay, now there is a move, Senate bill introduced the other day right after I had your partner, Andrew Littlefair, on from Clean Energy, that would actually pay for, because it's got a tax in it, the use of natural gas in surface vehicles. I'm a skeptic of anything good coming out of Washington. If you had to handicap this bill and how much you're counting on it at Chesapeake, what would it be?
Well, we're not counting on it. It would just be icing on the cake. We want it to pass. It should pass. The U.S. government should want people to stop consuming imported oil and move towards natural gas. The problem with the bill up until now has been it was just going to be how do you pay for it, and are we going to spend money that we don't have? Well, now we're going to tax ourselves, and so if you use natural gas as a fuel, you're going to pay up to 15 cents or so over the next 10 years to pay for a 5 years worth of credit to get the vehicle. And
you think
converted.
there's some buzz around it?
Yeah, I mean, why would you? How could you be against it? I mean,
if you're coal, you might be against it. If you're a company that doesn't want to see oil replaced, if you're OPEC, you're against it.
Well, sure, but if you are a U.S. congressman or a U.S. senator, you should say, here's something I can work together on a bipartisan basis. I can lower Americans' transportation bills. I can create American jobs. I can make the skies cleaner because we're not burning gasoline and diesel. So all these things should work together. And now that we've overcome the objection, I think it's got an excellent chance.
But in this document and in the research, there is discussion that you expect that we may have to be exporting our own natural gas.
Well, you're
involved in that.
Sure. We want to have the right to do that. I mean, every other producer of a product.
I'm saying it's sad.
Well, I hope we don't. I hope we don't. Okay, because I think what's going to happen, Jim, by 4 years from now, we're going to have the ability to export natural gas in a way that we export every other product that we make. But my hope is that in 4 years, we've so embraced natural gas for transportation that instead what we're doing is not importing as much oil and using our natural gas here. That's what I think will happen. But if for some reason our country doesn't embrace natural gas as a transportation fuel, our shareholders need the opportunity to go sell their gas on the world market.
One last question. Don't have a lot of time. Utica. You equate it to Eagle Ford, unbelievable size. You now have Marcellus in Pennsylvania. You have Utica in Ohio. When is the battleground of the election going to come into play in favor of what you've got?
I think when a candidate wakes up and says, I'm not going to be president of the United States unless I carry Ohio and Pennsylvania. And he can stand 1 foot on, his right foot can be in the Marcellus, his left foot in the Utica. And the guy who goes to Pennsylvania and Ohio and says, I'm the guy that's going to lower your energy costs. I'm the guy that's going to create good jobs, American jobs, and I'm going to return Pennsylvania and Ohio to their former prominence in the American economy is the guy who wins those two states as the next president of the United States.
I'm going to leave it at that right there. That's Aubrey McClendon, Chesapeake Energy Chairman and CEO. I want to stand right there with you. Thank you so much, sir. Good to see you. Stick with Kramer.